Hey, Rawhide fans, I'm Jill Guerin. I'm sitting down today with Kevin Cron with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was with the Rawhide back in 2015. Kevin, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, let's go into it's a weird situation. Everyone's kind of dealing with this differently. How are you doing right
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That this situation is just so unique for everybody, whether it be athletes or my wife with her work or anybody really. Everybody's kind of in a unique situation, so we're all kind of tackling things, um, you know, head on whenever they can. And that's unique for baseball players specifically because we're very big creatures of habit, and I think having like routines and being kind of locked in those routines year in and year out, whether it be the off season or the in season, you kind of know what you're preparing for, when you're preparing for it. And, now it's kind of like, well, what exactly are we preparing for? What stage of my workout should I be in? But at the same time, it's been fun. It's been kind of cool to do some of those like prison workouts and kind of just not really know what for a change. And that's been pretty fun.
now? Right. Have you been able to hit it all?
Yeah, I have access to a couple different cages. We usually go one or two of us at a time. It's kind of lonely, but yeah, I've been able to hit.
Great. That's awesome to hear. Um, what are you doing to pass the time right now other than just baseball stuff?
I'm reading a lot. Um, I'm me and my wife watch a ton of shows. I have a guilty pleasure of watching Grey's Anatomy with her, so
Nice.
we're kind of binge watching that every night. Yeah, I play a lot of video games and I golf. Golf has actually been pretty nice because there's been a lot of good ways to get out there and be safe, but still be outside and kind of get away for a little while. So that's been a big one.
Wow, that sounds great. It sounds like you're able to stay busy and everything at least. So,
Sure.
all right. So before we talk about your debut with the Diamondbacks, I actually want to talk about your family a little bit. So your dad, Chris, played in the majors. Your brother, CJ, is currently with the Tigers. How much have you leaned on them so far throughout your professional career?
Yeah, I'd say leaning on them came earlier than when we were all in professional baseball. I think baseball was just what kind of connected us to each other, and that's how we kind of grew. And our family was connected through baseball, and that was pretty cool to be able to go out and grow up and shag fly balls. It kind of the things that you learn through, I guess, the osmosis of being there and just kind of hearing those things at a young age. Like I think all that we learned about being a professional baseball player, we kind of learned before we even knew we were learning it. So it's made the transition into pro ball a lot easier for me than it might have been for other people. So, but they're definitely a great resource to have to be able to just call two people who've been there, done that, just to get advice or just to talk about it. Because more than anything, you just kind of want to get away and it's cool. It's cool to have people who understand that surrounding you.
Yeah, I bet. So obviously your dad managed you in Reno this year in AAA. Had he coached you before when you were younger growing up at all?
No, yeah, obviously. I mean, we would hit all the time. He was definitely like my most influential coach. But when it came to like the youth teams or the high school or the club teams, he kind of let us go away and do those things with our friends. And obviously he was a major influence on our careers and our and on learning the game of baseball in the cage in the backyard. But yeah, he kind of let us get away. So last year was the first taste I got of actually being
Wow.
kind
How
of
was
under.
that then? Was it weird?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be weirder than it was. I was like, this is the only person this will be weird for is me and my dad. That's it. But like, it was just a weird feeling going into it. But after the fact, it was kind of cool. It was just like having him, being in the dugout with him when I was growing up and just being how cool it was to, play baseball. And I always thought that, if I ever had a chance to play for him, that, it'd be a really special, really cool moment because, I always thought very highly of the way his players seemed to feel about him when I was younger.
Yeah, you got a little bit more of an insight into his real coaching style, I guess, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
So not only do you have the rare experience of being a professional baseball player, you also have the rare experience of being coached by your dad in a professional setting. and you have the rare experience of finding out that you're being called up to the majors, but you were told that by your father, right?
Mhm.
So pretty intense moment right there. Tell me that full story.
Yeah. So like I always tell people that growing up, you dream of like millions of ways that you would get called up to the big leagues. You know, you're always dreaming of that moment. But for me, like none of those included my dad being the one to be able to tell me. So like what actually happened for me was, greater than anything I could have ever dreamed about. So that itself was pretty cool. I don't know if, I mean, I would like to know if there was anybody else that's ever been able to happen to, but, if it is, it's a very small group of people, and I'm very honored to have been able to do that. And it was really special to me. But yeah, I mean, the actual call up itself was kind of anticlimactic from a standpoint. I think my dad was always wondering what he would do if that ever had to happen. And like, I bet he had all these different ways he would trick me or whatever it was. But when they told him I had to be on a flight in about like an hour and a half,
Oh gosh.
and so he had to like come up to my hotel room, tell me, pack my stuff, gone in 5 minutes. So he couldn't really do much other than knock on my door, like give me a big hug, say start packing, and then maybe a couple tears, another hug, pack my bag, I'm gone.
I
So
heard there
it
were
was
more than a couple tears though, Kevin.
yeah, maybe a few more, but it was really special. But yeah, it happened really quick, and the Diamondbacks gave him a few days off to come down and watch, and it was really special to spend those next couple of days in San Francisco with him.
Yeah, that's great that he was able to be there. Were other members of your family able to be there?
Yeah, my mom and sister came out. My wife was able to. She was in Reno. We were on a road trip in El Paso. My wife was still back in Reno, and she was able to just drive out to San Francisco with a couple other family members from the West Coast. And yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool to be able to have people there. California wasn't too far, thankfully, but the Diamondbacks were really cool about the whole situation, and they really, really helped us out. And
That's
I'm
great.
very thankful for that.
Yeah. So talking about your actual debut, it was on their first game was the 24th and you pinch hit that day. So what were your nerves like? Did you know that there was a situation where you might pinch hit?
Um, no, I guess like when I was expecting pinch hit, like I think we were winning the game pretty handily that
Yeah.
night, and like I was like, oh, okay, well, there's not a situation to really need to really critical pinch hit or anything like that. So I was like, I didn't necessarily think the game like you have to at the moment. Like it just took me a second to realize, no, actually they are going to need a hitter here. So like warming up and like you just try to go through it as quick as possible. And I bet I was going a mile a minute, but you got to slow it down. And it was really cool. It happened really fast. I'm glad I got to get that at bat out of the way, and then the next day get my first start. I think that was a good way to get introduced to it. The emotions of just like that rush of, am I forgetting something? Like the things you're gonna feel as a human being in those first time situations.
Right. So you mentioned that the next day you started, and so your nerves were a little bit calmer. Did you feel kind of more at ease that day?
Yeah, I think it fell more in line with like what your routine had always been, playing every day, coming through the minor leagues. So like the comfort level of like what routine needed to take place, the timing of it all, and then you're never in that panic mode of when am I going to start doing something to prepare for whatever it's going to be. And that was a cool little introduction, and I think it actually really helped me, um, especially moving forward in the pinch hitting role. Like that gave me my first idea of, okay, I really need to be ready for this situation, and that kind of helped me moving forward as well.
Mhm. Yeah, you were used in a pitch hitting situation quite a few times with the Diamondbacks this year. Was that something that was new for you?
Yeah, I mean, coming through the minor leagues, I was an everyday player. I played,
Mhm.
5, 6, 7 days a week. So, um, I wasn't really used to that, and you never really even get exposed to the DH or pinch hitting rule until you're in Double A, Triple A, because the lower levels, like such as Visalia, they always have a DH. So
Right.
when you have an off day in the minor leagues, it's kind of one of those. Okay, you're kind of off. You're not going to be used in the game.
Mhm.
And that was something that I'd never been really taught how to do it, and there's no real way to teach it. It's something that comes from experience and asking questions and having conversations with people. And that's what was most thankful for throughout that year last year was, there was a lot of information to be had, a lot of guys that had done it, a lot of experience in that room. And then all the way going, whenever I got sent back down to Reno, like talking to Gigi, our bench coach down there, about how he did it, because he has record for most pinch hits in all of baseball or something on it like that. So there's information everywhere, and I think that's the cool part about learning that new rule, is that there's always going to be people that have been there and done that in this games, and you can always learn a lot from those people.
Yeah, it's cool that you're able to talk to Gigi about that and everything. Let's go back to your start though. So you went 1 for 4 that day with 2 RBI. How'd you feel after the game? Did relief or what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit of relief. I was honestly a little like pissed off, excuse my language, but I was I thought I could have had 3 hits that day. I hit 3 balls really well, and they made a couple of good plays, and I was like, I could easily have one to remember. But no, it was really cool. We won. I think we won that night too. So it was cool to like be a part of earning a big league win. Wins aren't easy in the big leagues, and like that's all you really want to do is when you come up and you're inserted into any role, like what can we do to help better our chances of putting one in the win column. And it was cool to be called up as a bat who can produce runs and come up and do that in the first game and provide 2 RBIs or whatever it may be. And it was a really cool experience.
So you kind of mentioned it a little bit as you were called up mainly for your batting skills, and I kind of want to go into your minor league career a little bit. You got a lot of awards. You had MVP in 2017, 2-time midseason All-Star, 4-time postseason All-Star, and that's just the beginning of the list. But the one that I want to focus on is the Joe Bauman Home Run Award, and I saw your acceptance speech in winter meetings in San Diego this year, and you first heard about that award while you were in Visalia, right?
Yeah, I think I did.
So tell me about that. How'd you first hear about
it? Yeah, so I think AJ Reed was playing for Lancaster that year. He was a guy drafted the same year I was. We were in that league together, and I think he got called up to Double-A. But he was like, I think we were kind of going pound for pound for like the first half of the season, and then he just kind of took off, and then he went up to Double-A, and he hit like 30 something, and someone's like, yeah, he's gonna win that award or whatever, and I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, what award? And they told me about it, and from then on I was like, I just knew about it. It wasn't like a really big goal to go out and do at the beginning of every year, but I just always knew about it. When I got to that point last year, I was like, wait, someone told me that I was leading all of minor league baseball. I was like, wait, I remember that. There's an award or something. I had to start looking it up again. So I knew about it since then, and yeah, it was cool. It was a really fun award. I think I was really happy to earn it. It was really cool.
Yeah, and it was for 38 home runs that you had last year in the minors, but you had those 38 home runs on top of the 6 with the Diamondbacks, and you were dealing with going up and down a lot. So you said that you weren't really focusing on the award too much, but how did that affect you when you started to think about that award? Did it affect you at all?
Yeah, I think my AAA hitting coach Jason Camilli would hit me if I said no, because every year I feel like I'm coming up on like a milestone or something that someone tells me about, and I end up not having an RBI for 5 straight games or whatever it may be. And it's not like I'm performing terribly, it's just I'm not getting the RBIs or the home run, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
It's always in the back of your mind. I don't necessarily believe in all that, and I just think it's cool to like know about it. I just remember every time I got sent down towards the end of the year, I was like, all right, who's getting close? Like who caught me? Who do I have to go? Like, it's just like a fun way to look at it.
Yeah.
More fun than anything else.
Yeah, it's fun. Obviously, you want to focus on yourself and helping the team win, and you develop more. But it's a fun little side thing to focus on. It sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. It's just it's a fun little award where I think one of the cool things is that we were playing against the guy that was in second place or whatever for the really close end of the season, and we had a mutual friend within the couple teams, so we would hang out after a game or whatever and just talk and laugh about it, and he's like, don't worry, you'll get called back up like soon, and I'll go get you. And then, whatever. And the next day he got called up, and I was able to end the season and win it. So it was fun, and it was just cool to have those kind of relationships and whatnot.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Let's go back to 2015 with the Rawhide. You were there the whole season that year. You batted 272 with 27 home runs, 97 RBI. Obviously, a pretty good year that year. Do you have a favorite memory on that field or a specific game that you remember?
Yeah, for sure. But Visalia was one of the funnest seasons I had because we had a great group of guys there. Some of my better friends that I've stayed in touch with from my whole career have been from that team, and that made it really fun for us there, and we really enjoyed our time. But on the field wise, the memory I remember the most was in the playoffs against San Jose. I had broken my foot, but we hadn't really diagnosed it yet, but we knew I couldn't play much, so I wasn't even supposed to play, but I was on the roster, and we needed a pinch hitter, and we were down a run going into the ninth inning, and he asked me if I could hit, so I kind of put my cleats on, and I was like, I could probably give a couple swings, whatever, and I tied the game with a home run in the ninth. We ended up losing that game, so it kind of sucks that I threw that as the memory, but that was the most emotional home run I've ever hit, I think, was that one, and I'll always remember that.
Was it a pretty slow home run shot too?
No, I went kind of blank. It didn't really hurt, adrenaline, whatever you want, but yeah, it was really cool. I got surgery that off season and had to rehab it, but it was definitely a fun moment.
Yeah. So before you mentioned that memory, you said that you got close with a lot of guys from that team. You're still in touch with them. Do you have a favorite off-field memory?
Off the field. Wow, there's a lot. Let's just say we would always hang out. That was the thing. Being with host families, I think that was the cool part, was that the host families were really cool, and we could all just hang out. We could just, 3 or 4 of us after a game go home, hang out, watch MLB Network, watch the guys who were in the position that we want to be at, hitting homers on MLB Network all night, and just hang out and talk. Those are the things you remember the most. So I'd definitely say that that's up there.
Mm-hmm. I actually want to focus in on the host families a little bit. I talked to Kevin Ginkle yesterday, and he talked about his host family too. And not a lot of people know about the host family program in Visalia and also in other minor league teams. So what was that experience for you?
It was awesome. I mean, I had done it once before and in college, but I was just very, very grateful for them. They welcomed me with open arms, and they always were at the games and always supporting us. And it's just nice to know you're coming back to a home when you're done with the game. It's a lot of times in the minor leagues, you're going home to single bedroom apartments with 3 or 4 guys on air mattresses. So, it's nice to know after a game, you're going to go home and have the same bed, each and every night. And yeah, that's really, really special.
Especially with an advanced day, a lot of the guys are pretty young and might be one of their first times or maybe second or only third year away from home. So it might be a little bit easier. Did it help you get kind of acclimated to Visalia, the actual city?
Yeah, for sure. They would recommend awesome spots, and I don't remember the names of all of them, but there was 2 or 3 diners that had awesome breakfast that I would go all the time. One of them was right down the road from our host family. I'd go wake up, get a newspaper, coffee, do the old fashioned diner deal. And it was, I just really, really enjoyed that.
That's great. Let's fast forward to present day where, we're all waiting for baseball to start. We don't really know when it is, what exactly is going to be, if there'll be fans and stuff. But despite all of that, what are you most excited for whenever baseball does start?
Just honestly being back with my best friends. Honestly, we always say that in baseball, where it's we're spending more time with these people than we are with our families a lot of the year. And honestly, we're obviously very glad that we get more time with our families now, and that's been very, very awesome. Something we've never experienced together. Me and my wife were laughing that we hadn't had an Easter together ever, and we didn't really know what to do on Easter, which was funny. But I think like, you miss the other side of it. Like you miss the friendships and the competition within the friendships and all that comes with that, the traveling and, you even miss the complaining, complaining about the plane rides or complaining about the bus rides or whatever it is. Like you miss being able to complain about something or
Right.
the
There you
umpires,
go.
like those things that you hate all the time, like umpires. Like you were like, God, I wish I would take somebody calling a bad strike two on me right now. Like just let me get in the box,
A
like
bad strike two, not a bad strike three.
not strike three. That's non-forgivable.
That's true though. I've definitely seen
Yeah.
a lot of tweets of, I'll never complain about a rain delay again. And when I interviewed the coaching staff, I said I will never complain about a school day that starts at 11 a.m. ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, it's like that's so true because the rain delays where you're just in the locker room not knowing if you're playing that night or not, knowing that you might be there till 9 o'clock. Like you actually will look back and miss those a lot because that's where you're playing cards. You're in the locker room, not really doing anything. There's never a time where the whole team's just in the locker room, not really doing anything. Everybody's hitting or throwing or stretching or working out or so like it's cool. Like the rain delay, everybody's there. Usually eating a lot. Usually drinking a lot of coffee, trying to stay loose, whatever it is. But those are definitely the times you miss the most.
Those off-field memories, like you said.
Yeah.
One last question for you. What is there anything in particular that you're working on or planning on working on in the 2020 season?
Yeah, I think just trying to find a way to fill whatever role is necessary. I think that's the hardest part is, you work your whole life to get to the big leagues and now your goal is to stick. And the way you stick is you provide value in winning ball games. And, I obviously can do that with the bat and there's other ways that you can also help win baseball games and just trying to focus on improving any which way that can help us win a game. If that means improving as a pinch hitter and finding ways to develop a routine that's going to work more effectively or to get better on the defensive side of the ball to become a more well-rounded overall player. There's always things to improve on, and that's kind of the beauty of the game. There's always another way for you to open a door for yourself. So I think just finding a way to help increase that value I can provide.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get baseball back soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me.